Buried Friendship, the story of Iran and Israel. Iran, one of the cultural cradles of the Middle East, boasts a history stretching from the ancient Elamite civilization to the modern Islamic Republic. As the heart of the ancient Persian Empire, Iran has exerted deep political, cultural, and religious influence over neighboring peoples, especially the Jews and, later, the State of Israel. In the Old Testament, Persia is not merely a setting, but a vital part of sacred narrative, from the redemptive decree of Cyrus the Great to the courageous intervention of Esther. The relationship between Persia and the Jewish people is rich with drama. This stands in stark contrast to the adversarial stance that defines modern relations between Iran and Israel. The Elamite civilization and early Persia. Iran's recorded history begins around the year 3000 BCE with the Elamite civilization, in what is now southwestern Iran. The Elamites built complex societies and interacted frequently with Mesopotamian civilizations. While Jews had yet to enter the historical record at this stage, Elam's prosperity laid the cultural and political groundwork for the rise of the Persian Empire. By the 7th century BCE, the Medes and Persians began to ascend in the Iranian plateau. In the year 550 BCE, Cyrus II overthrew the Medes and founded the First Persian Empire, sometimes mistakenly referred to as the Parthian Empire, ushering in a golden age of Persian-Jewish relations. Cyrus the Great and the return of the Jews. In the year 539 BCE, Cyrus conquered Babylon, ending the Neo-Babylonian captivity of the Jews. The Book of Ezra chapter 1, verses 1-4 records, in the first year of King Cyrus of Persia, in order that Jehovah's word spoken by Jeremiah would be fulfilled, Jehovah stirred the spirit of King Cyrus of Persia to make a proclamation throughout his kingdom, which he also put in writing, saying, "This is what King Cyrus of Persia says, Jehovah the God of the heavens has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has commissioned me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever there is among you of all his people, may his God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and rebuild the house of Jehovah the God of Israel. He is the true God, whose house was in Jerusalem. Anyone who is residing as a foreigner, wherever he may be, let him be helped by his neighbors by their giving him silver and gold, goods and livestock, along with the voluntary offering for the house of the true God, which was in Jerusalem." Cyrus not only allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem, but generously provided materials for the rebuilding of the temple. He returned around 5,400 temple vessels looted by the Babylonians. In Jewish tradition, this act is seen as divine intervention. Isaiah even refers to Cyrus as the Lord's anointed. Cyrus' tolerance extended to all ethnic and religious groups within the empire, but his favor toward the Jews stood out. This benevolence laid the foundation for the revival of the Jewish people, and the beginning of an enduring bond between Persia and the Jewish nation. Darius I and the rebuilding of the temple. Following Cyrus' death, King Darius I reaffirmed Cyrus' decree, as recorded in Ezra chapter 6, verses 1-12. He authorized the use of royal treasury funds to support the rebuilding efforts, and mandated provisions for offerings and sacrifices. He even issued severe penalties for anyone interfering with the project. Under the prophetic encouragement of Haggai and Zechariah, the Second Temple was completed in 516 BCE. Haggai chapter 2, verse 9 proclaims, "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house." Although it lacked the grandeur of Solomon's temple, it became a powerful symbol of Jewish renewal. The Persian Empire's support provided political stability and religious freedom, allowing Jewish society to re-establish itself in Jerusalem. The Legend of Esther. The Book of Esther recounts events during the reign of Xerxes I, when the Jewish people faced existential threat. Esther, a Jewish woman of remarkable beauty and wisdom, was chosen as queen. With her cousin Mordecai, a key figure in the royal court, they thwarted the genocidal plot of the vizier Haman. Esther risked her life to plead with the king, who ultimately executed Haman and empowered the Jews to defend themselves. The ensuing victory is commemorated in the Festival of Purim, a celebration of survival and divine justice. King Ahasuerus not only granted Jews protection, but also economic relief, tax exemptions, and a degree of autonomy. Mordecai rose to become the second most powerful man in the empire, further illustrating the favor Persia extended to the Jews. Rebuilding Jerusalem. Under Artaxerxes I, the Persian state continued to support the Jewish community. Nehemiah, a trusted royal cupbearer, was granted permission to return and rebuild Jerusalem's walls, receiving timber, silver, and military escort. Ezra, a priest and scribe, led a second group of returnees, reinforcing Jewish religious law and tradition. The king provided him with wealth and waived taxes for priests and Levites. Ezra was also empowered. He established judicial authority in Judah. These efforts not only rebuilt the city physically but also spiritually, reviving Jewish faith and governance. The Second Temple, the restoration of the Torah, and the institutionalization of Purim all reflect Persia's generosity and tolerance, marking a golden chapter in Iranian-Israeli historical ties. Daniel in the Persian court. The Book of Daniel presents a tale of Jewish resilience and Persian openness. Daniel, a Jewish official of exceptional talent, was envied and targeted by rivals, ultimately cast into a den of lions. The Persian king, reluctant but bound by law, hoped for Daniel's survival. When Daniel emerged unharmed, the king was moved to decree reverence for Daniel's God throughout the empire. This story highlights Persian admiration for Jewish wisdom and religious freedom, reaffirming Persia's role as a refuge. The fall of the First Empire and rise of the Second. In the year 331 BCE, Alexander the Great defeated Darius III, bringing the First Persian Empire to an end. The Hellenistic period began. Though Jews were not systematically persecuted, the cultural tensions caused by Hellenization were palpable. In the year 247 BCE, the Parthians founded the Arsacid Empire, often called the Second Persian Empire, ending Seleucid rule and restoring Iranian sovereignty. Under the Parthians, Jews enjoyed relative autonomy and religious freedom. Babylonian Jewish communities thrived, laying the groundwork for the Babylonian Talmud. While the Bible does not record this era, Acts chapter 2, verse 9 mentions Parthians among pilgrims in Jerusalem, suggesting enduring Jewish presence in Persian lands. Parthian rule generally continued the tolerant traditions of their Achaemenid predecessors. The Sasanian Empire and the Talmud. In the year 224 CE, the Sasanian Empire, the Third Persian Empire, replaced the Parthians and re-established centralized rule. Zoroastrianism became the state religion, and control over religious life increased. During this era, Babylonian Jewish communities flourished intellectually and spiritually. By the 5th century CE, the Babylonian Talmud was compiled, one of the most significant developments in Jewish religious life. Sasanian attitudes toward Jews varied. Shapur II initially ruled with tolerance, but during conflicts with Rome, suspicions of Jewish Roman sympathies led to sporadic persecution. Still, the Jewish community remained economically and culturally vital. Although the Bible is silent on this period, rabbinic literature records extensive Jewish Sasanian interactions. The Islamic era. Following the Arab conquest in 642 CE, Iran entered the Islamic era. Under the Abbasids, Jews were dhimmis, protected but subordinate, allowed limited autonomy, especially in Babylon. However, successive waves of foreign rule brought instability and occasional persecution. In the 16th century, the native Safavid dynasty revived Iranian independence, and declared Shi'ism the state religion. This led to heightened repression of non-Muslims. Jews faced systemic discrimination and occasional forced conversions. The Qa'ar dynasty in the 19th century brought modest relief. Some Jews gained access to education and economic mobility. Nevertheless, the trajectory from tolerance to marginalization remained clear. The Pahlavi dynasty and pro-Israel policies. established in 1925 by Reza Shah after overthrowing the Kaur dynasty. The Pahlavi regime promoted nationalism and modernization. Religious authority was curbed, and minority communities, including Jews, experienced significant improvement in status. Reza Shah repealed discriminatory laws and encouraged Jewish participation in education and national life. Under his son Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, these reforms expanded. Jews gained religious freedom and professional prominence. Despite not formally recognizing Israel after 1948, Iran maintained covert relations, intelligence sharing, agricultural initiatives, and oil deals. This alliance offered Iranian Jews a measure of protection. Unlike in Iraq or Syria, most Iranian Jews did not emigrate en masse after Israel's founding. They continued contributing to Iran's economy and culture. By the 1970s, the Iranian Jewish population numbered between 60,000 and 80,000, the largest in the region outside Israel. This era was the golden twilight of Iranian Jewry, marked by unprecedented prosperity. But the year 1979 Islamic Revolution ended that chapter. The turning point, the year 1979 Revolution. The Islamic Revolution overthrew the Pahlavi monarchy and established a theocratic Shiite republic. The new regime severed all ties with Israel, denouncing it as an illegitimate and hostile entity. The revolution ushered in surveillance and growing pressure on the Jewish community. Thousands emigrated to Israel, the US, and Europe. From quiet coexistence, Iran and Israel shifted into open hostility. From ancient protection under the Achaemenids to the intellectual flourishing of the Talmud in Babylon, and the covert diplomacy of the Pahlavi era, Iran and the Jewish people once shared a millennium of intertwined history. Jews in Iran were not exiles, but contributors, participants in the civic, cultural, and commercial life of Persian cities. Synagogues stood near mosques, and Hebrew prayers mingled with Persian hymns beneath the same sky. But history can turn sharply. The year 1979 revolution cleaved past from present. Friendship was no longer spoken, only whispered. Cooperation became taboo. What once was harmony became a buried memory. Today, missiles light up the night sky, and headlines lock Israel and Iran into mirrored enmity. Yet not long ago, they traded seeds and science, oil and secrets. Long before that, they sheltered each other's faiths. Friendship buried in the chronicles is not just a metaphor, but a sobering truth. When history is sealed away, what's truly lost is the ability to understand. Perhaps someday, when the smoke clears, we will open those ancient pages again and glimpse the possibility of coexistence. This story is not merely the fate of a minority. It is a mirror of how politics can rupture trust, even among those with shared history. When ideology eclipses memory, even the oldest friendships can erode overnight. As we revisit the Jewish-Persian story, we do so not only to mourn a lost multicultural legacy, but to remind ourselves, coexistence is never guaranteed. It's a fragile miracle, one worth remembering, and one worth rebuilding. Dear friends, that brings us to the end of today's heavy yet meaningful topic. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you'll subscribe, like, and share this channel and video. Please leave your valuable comments and suggestions below. May God bless you, may peace be with you, and may the people of this world live in peace and happiness. This is The Sharp Angle. See you in the next video. Bye bye.